What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, hope everyone is doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope everyone is having a great Tuesday. You guys already know what time it is, baby. It is time for some live week 4 fantasy Q&A. We've got a lot to get into. Our first fantasy Q&A segment of the week. Can you guys believe we're already 4 weeks in? It's absolutely crazy. This season is already flying by. So y'all know what to do, man. Hit that like button on the way in. Hit that subscribe button, of course, if you are new to the channel. Hop in the live chat, man. Let me know what's popping. Let me know what fantasy questions you guys have got moving in to week 4. Start, sits, trades, waiver wire. We've got a little bit of time left to get those waivers in. Quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, defense, kicker, whatever it may be. Hop in the live chat. Let's get this thing popping. I'm excited for tonight. I'm excited to be here. Glad you guys are here tonight, man. Let's get some fantasy Q&A going. All right, let me get this poll set up very quickly here. I see we got Godfather in the house. What's going on, man? How are you? Hope you're doing well. We got Jute. What's up, man? What's up? What's up? Emil, what's going on, my guy? Hello, hello. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. So we've got must start receivers, must start running backs out. Or excuse me, not must start. We've got starts and sits for running backs and receivers out. Starts and sits for receivers aired shortly before the stream, so those are out there for you guys. Then Steven has got must start defenses and must start kickers will be dropping tomorrow. So we do have some content out for the week. Make sure you guys go check those videos out when you guys have the time. All right, let's see here. Almost done with the poll. Sorry guys, I always mean to do this before the stream starts and then I always forget. It always slows us down here. My bad, guys. I'm gonna burn Tom Brady here. All right, let me get back to the top of the chat and let's see what's popping here. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's get it going. All right, Jameson, Kelsey and Amon-Ra, or Kupp and Waller. Whew. I think overall the best value lies with Kelsey and Amon-Ra. It's very, very close here. I mean, Waller's sitting as your tight end 5. Kelsey's your tight end 2. Kupp's your receiver 2 in full PPR. And Amon-Ra is your wide receiver 3. So, like, it's very, very close here. Like, I do think on the season that Kupp is going to have the better season. As much as I like Amon-Ra right now. But I just take Kelsey over Waller. Like, listen, tight end 5 is great, you know, for Waller, don't get me wrong, but tight end 2 versus tight end 5 is a lot different than like wide receiver 2 versus wide receiver 5 and RB2 versus RB5. Like, tight end 2 just holds, like, Andrews and Kelsey just hold a different type of value. Like, I would lean the Kelsey side for that reason, but if you feel better overall about Kupp and Waller, I'm not completely against it. Like, Kupp is the better receiver, but like I said, at the moment so far on the season, Kupp is in front of Amon-Ra by 1 spot. I do think Kupp will have the better season, but Amon-Ra still gonna have a very, very good season, so it's close there. But I'd probably go Kelsey and Amon-Ra. Shelton, what's going on? Hello, hello. John, what's up? What's up? Let's see. John B, should I trade Deontay for Mike Williams and Wilson? Is it Jeff Wilson? Is it Zach Wilson? Is it Garrett Wilson? It depends here. I mean, if it's Garrett Wilson, then yeah, I like this trade. I mean, I like Deontay. Don't get me wrong. I still think he's going to be consistent on the season, but his ceiling's just capped within this offense. So you get, you know, as long as you have some consistent receivers on your team, I don't mind this trade because Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams do bring some volatility, some boom or bust potential on a weekly basis, but the depth here is good if you need the depth. Davis, what's up, bro? How are you, man? Appreciate you being here tonight. What's up, Davis? That's my guy right there. What's up? What's up? Godfather, getting dinner ready for the baby, so I won't be as active in the chat. No worries, man. Crazy weekend last weekend with how close some of the games were in my leagues. Yeah, a lot of close games in like all my leagues this past week, and a lot of low scoring games as well. It was not an incredibly exciting week 3. We had a lot of busts out of some big name players. Jude, who should I start at RB2? Jamal Williams, Connor, Gibby, or Dylan? Well, it kind of depends here, right? If DeAndre Swift does not play in week 4's matchup against Seattle, then I think you absolutely need to start Williams. And there's definitely potential here that we're not going to see Swift play in week 4, which is incredibly unfortunate. I mean, I would go Williams if Swift doesn't play, which is looking like he's not going to. And even if he does, like, there's still an argument to start Williams. Gibson gets Dallas. I'm not in love with the matchup, but I think he'll probably get you like at least 10 points overall. Connor and Dylan I'm a little bit lower on, and it hurts me to say I'm a little bit lower on James Conner. He's got a decent matchup versus Carolina, but overall, like, I think Williams is probably the best start. I don't have a lot of optimism that Swift's going to play, unfortunately, this week. But let's say Swift does play and you're not in love with the Williams play, then I'd go Gibson. Would you sell high on Chubb? It's a good question, Emil. I mean, PPR, this is your RB2. Standard, it's your RB1. Like, he gets Atlanta in week 4. So, like, I'm willing to put some money down that Nick Chubb's going to have a good week 4. So I think, like, you still have a good opportunity to sell him high next week if you want to. It just depends on the rest of your roster, but, like, frankly, I think if Chubb stays healthy, he's going to have a very good fantasy season. So I'm not out on Chubb. If you can get the right offer, I don't hate it. What did I tell you? Buy low on Swift. I would still love to buy low on Swift at the moment. I still believe in DeAndre even if he's hurt. Mark, start 3. Aaron Jones, Sutton, Lamb, or Deontay. Man, it's just tough. Like, Aaron Jones on a week-to-week basis is just really difficult to evaluate, right? 32 points in week 2, 10.6 in week 1, 4.7 in week 3. Against New England in week 4, they held Baltimore's running backs to 92 total yards, which is not awful. Like, he's still RB1, you know, valuable in week 4. It's just like the inconsistency. Like, that's what Jones gives you. Like, we know that, right? So, I mean, with that being said, I would probably still roll with Aaron Jones. Like, the upside is much higher, you know, in comparison to some of these receivers. But I'd probably go Jones, Sutton, and Lamb. I think Deontay has the lowest potential ceiling, so I'd probably go with those 3: Jones, Sutton, Lamb. Let's see here. Devonta Smith, Amari Cooper, Hollywood Brown, Amon-Ra, Christian Kirk, Curtis Samuel. Who should I start? Pick 3, please. If Amon-Ra is healthy, you roll with Amon-Ra. Let's see if we have an update overall on Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think I've seen anything today. Diagnosed with a minor ankle injury. Yeah, this is the same thing I saw earlier. Is considered minor. He'll be week to week for the time being. So there's potential he misses week 4 against Seattle. It's really not good for the Lions offense with Amon-Ra and DeAndre Swift both as, like, highly questionable going in to week 4. But let's say Amon-Ra does play, you have to start him. Then I'd go Devonta Smith. And then it's between Amari Cooper and Christian Kirk. Like, gosh, you're in a great position here, man. I mean, like, you can't really go wrong no matter where you go. Christian Kirk has Philly. It is a little bit of a steep matchup. He should draw Darius Slay. And then Amari Cooper has Atlanta. Man, I can't imagine benching Christian Kirk right now. But I'd probably go Smith, Cooper, and Amon-Ra. If Amon-Ra does not play, I'd probably go Christian Kirk. I mean, Hollywood Brown gets edged out just slightly here. I mean, I don't think he's a bad start, but I just think he's slightly edged out. And really, like, regardless of who you start here, you are probably going to have a great lineup. I left Curtis Samuel out just because he's got competition in front of him for targets, but Samuel's a great start as well. Overall, probably Smith, Cooper, and Amon-Ra for me. If Amon-Ra doesn't play, I'd probably still go Kirk even with the matchup. Richie, Kirk Cousins or Jameis Winston this week? I'd probably go Cousins. It's just a safer start overall. Winston, the good week 1 performance against Atlanta, and then 9.64 points in week 2, 14.62 in week 3. I mean, he's QB 15 on the season. So, like, when we look at Cousins at the moment, he's not far off. He's QB 13. I probably go Cousins by a hair. But, like, the Saints defense is pretty good, so you could go Jameis here. I'd probably start Cousins if it was my personal roster. Russ or Tua, man, I go Tua here. Like, chat, I am interested to get your guys' thoughts on this, right? Like, I'm just out on the Broncos offense. I just have no faith in them. Like, they have a good matchup versus Las Vegas in week 4, but I just don't feel good about them. I traded Javonte Williams today. Like, I just don't like this offense. Outside of Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton's a guy to start within this offense. But Russell Wilson, 17.8 points in week 1, 12.6 in week 2, 9.6 in week 3. Like I said, it's a pretty good matchup versus Vegas in week 4. But that's bringing in Russell Wilson as quarterback, 24 on the season thus far. Tua is sitting at QB 5, but he's elevated because of the monster performance in week 2 versus Baltimore, where he had 40.86 fantasy points. He's a limited participant in practice on Tuesday, and he's got the short week, right? So we got to monitor it, right? If Tua doesn't play, then I do think that it is okay to start Russell Wilson over him, but I just am not in love with it because I really don't like that offense. I really like, especially after watching last week's game, like, I just don't feel good about the Broncos offense. I mean, like, every game that I've watched, including the Broncos this year, I have not been a fan of what I have seen overall. All right, let's see here. We got a super chat. Thank you so much, FBA7B1, for the super chat. Very, very kind of you with the $5 dono. I appreciate that, my guy. Madison or Khalil Herbert this week if Cook is out. I have Swift. I need a replacement. Also pick one. Gabe Davis, Curtis Samuel, Devonta Smith, or Garrett Wilson. Okay, so here's the issue here, right? We don't know if Cook is going to sit. We don't know if Montgomery is going to sit. If, let's say they both sit, then I will go Khalil Herbert. Because, the Vikings get the Saints. And it's not that I am against that matchup necessarily. But I after what Khalil Herbert did in week 3, I would lean towards Herbert versus the Giants before I would lean towards Madison versus the Saints. But they're both good options. The other thing is, it's a London game. London games are, like, there's no real in-between. They're not competitive games. Like, well, they can be competitive, but if they're competitive, they're low scoring. And then if they're not competitive, they're high scoring. Like, I just don't like London games. So I would go Khalil Herbert. And I also think, like, if Montgomery does play, Herbert still has a shot at a respectable fantasy stat line, where if Cook plays, Madison's irrelevant. So I probably go Herbert. Pick one flex: Gabe Davis, Curtis Samuel, Devonta Smith, or Garrett Wilson. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm a big fan of Devonta Smith going up against the Jags this week. After what he did last week, like, listen, I still like Gabe Davis quite a bit. It's like crazy how much things have changed since week 1, and I love Gabe Davis this week versus the Ravens. So for me, it is Davis or Smith. Like, Curtis Samuel still a solid start, but he has competition for targets. And then Garrett Wilson, like, Zach Wilson might be the starting quarterback for the Jets this week. How does that impact Garrett Wilson? I don't quite know. How does it impact the offense? I don't know. Joe Flacco is throwing the football a ton. Is Zach Wilson going to be throwing the football as much? I don't know. We'll find out. So I like Garrett Wilson. I like the upside there, but I just take a step back until we see how this offense looks in week 4. So for me, it's between Gabe Davis and Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith has a safer floor. Gabe Davis maybe offers a little bit more upside. I think both are really solid starts. I would trust your gut between Devonta Smith or Gabe Davis. And like I said, I think Khalil Herbert is probably the more solidified start between the two running backs going into week 4. Once again, thank you so much for the super chat, man. It's very, very kind to you. I appreciate that, my guy. All right. Let me see. Chat, I am way behind. Trying to go as quickly as I can. So, start 2, Sutton, CD, Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson. I would go Sutton, CD. CD's been very, very consistent. He's actually playing better football with Cooper Rush at quarterback. 22.7 points against the Giants. Could have been more. He dropped that big pass. And I go Sutton. Sutton's been very consistent as well. Like, listen, I love me some Mike Williams, man. But Sutton, 11.2 points in week 1, 19.7 in week 2, 17.7 in week 3. Mike Williams does a little bit of this, right? He's all over the place. He's always a solid start, but you just have to be prepared to be let down, right? So I like safer 4s. I go Sutton, CD here. Mike Williams, I like more in the flex. Richie, Saints D or the Browns D? I'd probably go the Browns. Probably go the Browns versus the Falcons. Like I said, London games, defenses are not going to be on point. Week 4 defense, San Francisco or Philadelphia. I like both these starts. I probably go the Eagles. I mean, I like the Niners at Rams, and I like the Jaguars right now. That offense is humming, man. But I'd be willing to still bet against Trevor Lawrence versus Sean McVay and the Rams. You know, it's close, man. Both are really good starts. FBA with another super chat, man. I appreciate that, man. That's very kind of you. Look at that. That's like a pair lifting weights. That's the coolest thing I've seen all day. Thank you so much for the dono, man. That's very kind of you. Appreciate that, my guy. We will definitely keep it up. I appreciate that, Don. Gibson or Edmonds? If it's week 4 purely, I go Edmond. Or excuse me, I go Gibson for sure. Yeah, I go Gibson in week 4. Even though it's against the Cowboys, I just don't like the inconsistency with Edmonds. But he could ball out at any moment, right? Becky to go. Bench 1 for Fournette, Pierce, Jamal Williams, Henry. Well, if Swift plays, which, like I said, I don't think he's going to, but if he does, then you could probably bench Williams, but who knows, he might ball out. This is a tough one. This is a tough one, man. Fournette, Pierce, Jamal Williams, and Henry. So Fournette's probably going to be utilized in this game, like, quite a bit, right? I mean, it's a good matchup versus the Chiefs. That is a tough one, man. So Fournette, 12 fantasy points in week 3. I think you probably bench Pierce. And I like Pierce this week. And I love that we saw him have a good game last week, you know. But he's still the least proven running back out of this bunch. I probably bench Pierce by a hair. You have to start Henry. Williams has a really good matchup. You probably start those two. You probably have to bench Pierce. John is Jeff Wilson. I don't hate the trade. The more consistent player is Deontay Johnson. The boomer bust upside guy is definitely Mike Williams. And Jeff Wilson's going to be, you know, only relevant for a portion of the season. So I don't hate it. Kind of depends on the rest of your roster. Bryce, should I trade Mixon and Keenan Allen for Barkley? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I like that trade. Pollard or Woods in the flex? I go Pollard here. Yeah, I go Pollard. I don't quite trust Woods in the flex. I think Pollard, a 10-point performance in week 3, 19.8 in week 2 against Washington. Yeah, I'd probably go Pollard there. Let's see. Better waiver wire pickup: DJ Chark, Richie James, Robert Woods, or Zay Jones. I mean, quite frankly, I'd probably go Zay Jones. But I don't mind Richie James either. I mean, Richie James is probably going to be your wide receiver 1 for the Giants after the injury to to Sterling Shepard. Excuse me. I probably go Richie James, but it's like, I mean, yeah, wide receiver 1s always hold value, but he's still on the Giants, you know. DJ Chark is interesting. Like, don't be surprised if Chark has a good week if Amon-Ra has to sit out this game. Like, but long term, I probably go Richie James and then Zay Jones. Garrett Wilson, Khalil Herbert, Allen Robinson, Dylan at the flex. If Monty doesn't play, then it's Herbert for sure. If he does, then it's probably Garrett Wilson. Charlie, what's up, man? Hello, hello. Smoke at the Cat Cow, what's up, baby? Beat myself for not trading Higgins for Monty. To make things worse, I have Herbert. So drop Madison now. Of course, he might be relevant. FML, yeah, that league has been a struggle for you so far. You'll be all right, man. What's your record in that league? Set 1, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Curtis Samuel. Well, it depends. Allen might not play. He's on track to, though. I think you have to roll with Allen and Cooper if Allen's healthy. But it's close. Curtis Samuel's still a solid play. Richard Glass in the building. What's up, baby? How are you, man? Good to have you here. What's up? What's up? C. Crep, what's up, man? I'm having a hard time making decisions. Need 3 in full PPR. MT if he plays, C. Pat, Fournette, Wilson, Devonta Smith. Scared of the matchup between Deontay and Sauce Gardner. All right. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I do think you're in a pretty good position here. I say you start Devonta Smith for sure. You start MT if he plays. And maybe go C-Pat here. If you don't want to start Deontay Johnson, then go C-Pat. That's fine. If MT doesn't play, then I probably... You could go for Net, but I'd probably still go Deontay Johnson. I mean, like, the target share is going to be there for him. So I'm not out on Johnson on the week, although, it's a good match, or a tough matchup. And probably the stoutest matchup he's had on the season. But the target share should be there overall for Deontay Johnson, so I'm not off of him this week by any means. I mean, 12 targets week 1, 10 in week 2, 11 in week 3, you know. So probably go Smith, MT, and C-Pat if you don't want to start Deontay. Ewick, what's up, bro? Hello, hello. Space Ghost, coast to coast. What's up, baby? Murray and Carr, JT Saquon, Damian Pierce, Kareem, St. Brown, Waddle, Deontay Johnson, Scary Derry, D-Hop, Kelsey. Whoo! Cool. The Niners defense, I'm 3-0. Do I need to make any moves? No. This team is really good. I mean, after the bye week for Carr, you probably don't need him, but you could keep him. Like, it's good depth, right? JT Saquon, Pierce, Kareem Hunt, St. Brown, Waddle, Deontay Johnson, McLaurin, D-Hop. Wow, when D-Hop comes back, this team could be really, really nice. I mean, you're 3-0. I think you're fine. I really do. I like the way this team looks. All right, XX Lex, Breece Hall for T. Higgins. My team is Lamar Jackson, Swift, Hendo, Kenneth Walker, Brian Robinson, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Conklin, Hollywood Brown, T. Higgins, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. Yeah, so we talked about this a little bit in the chat earlier for the wide receiver premiere, but I would do the trade. Like, you need the help at running back, right? With Swift being hurt, Hendo as your RB2, you do need the help, right? And here's the other aspect is you already have Jamar Chase. You can start Chase and Higgins on a weekly basis, but it's going to get kind of aggravating at times, right? But you have really good receivers. A.J. Brown, Chase, Hollywood Brown, Higgins, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson. I do think Elijah Moore is going to start to improve as Zach Wilson at quarterback. So I would do the trade. Higgins is playing good football, though. So let's just take a quick look. I mean, Higgins comes in as wide receiver 34 in full PPR, and then Hall is coming in as running back 17 in full PPR. So, it's pretty equal trade value, and it doesn't hurt your team. You still have A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Hollywood Brown, Amon-Ra. Just those guys alone, then the best aspects of the Jets receiving core is on your team as well. So, I would say do the trade, yeah. Bryce, Bryce, I do like to trade Mixon. You're trading away Mixon and Allen for Barkley. See, I thought you were getting Keenan Allen and Barkley for Joe Mixon. It depends on your roster, Bryce. Let me know your roster. Trading Christian Kirk for Keenan and Josh Jacobs. I mean, depending on the roster, I'm not completely against it. Josh Jacobs is like RB30 in full PPR right now. Allen has missed time. Christian Kirk has a stout matchup this week, so don't be surprised if he's a little bit down, but he's playing very good football. Eugene, what's up, man? Tough spot for me, wide receiver this week. Treylon Burks, Isaiah McKenzie, Pickens, Harmon. What three would you play? No low options. You're good, bro. I would definitely start Isaiah McKenzie. Like, no doubt about it. Oh, man. McKenzie's like I'd probably go Burks. Like, Burks is due for a big game. Hopefully he gets the Colts. Not the best. Not the worst. I probably go Hardman because at least he brings you some boom potential. You know what I'm saying? He gets the Bucks. Should be a good matchup. I'm a fan of Pickens. He gets the Jets, but I probably go Isaiah McKenzie, Treylon Burks, and McCole Hardman here. How many teams are in that league? Got his good flex play. Gibson, Hall, Dillon, Bateman. I will go Bateman there. I will go Bateman. I do think he's the best overall start. If you don't go Bateman, maybe go Hall there. All right, Kyle with the super chat. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate that. With the $5 dono. Very, very kind to you, man. Full PPR trade offer. I'd receive Mike Evans, Zeke, and Tua. Trade away Mike Williams and James Robinson. My current QB is Russ. Okay. It's a tough one. So you're trying to upgrade at QB, essentially, right? And we talked about Tua a little bit earlier. Like, Tua... excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Is coming in as quarterback 5. But, like, it's quarterback 5 because of the week 2 performance. I'm out on the Broncos offense, so I don't mind the swap at quarterback. Well, you're not really swapping Russ, but the potential to have a second quarterback next to Russ and Tua, right? Evans for Mike Williams, I think is fair. Like, as long as Evans is healthy, then I think it's fair. I mean, Evans misses week 3. Didn't have a great week in week 2. So he's wide receiver 55. And like Williams, who's wide receiver 36, 8.5 points in week 3, 25.3 in week 2, 3 in week 1. Like, Mike Williams brings some really big ceilings, but his floor just isn't necessarily safe, you know? Evans probably is a pretty safe floor when healthy and not suspended. So the biggest, like, I think the bigger downside of this trade is losing Robinson for Zeke. You know, like, Robinson is playing incredible football at the moment, and I would prefer to have Robinson on my roster. He comes in as RB3 at the moment in full PPR, where Elliott, on the other hand, comes in as RB38. Hit his first double-digit performance in week 3. So that's where the downgrade is, right, at running back. But Zeke is a good bench running back, at least. So I don't hate the trade. Like, I think it's fair overall. And if you are off of Russ and trying, I don't know if Tua's a massive upgrade, right? Like, we have to keep things in perspective that Tua's overall stat lines are elevated because of what he did in week 2. Look at week 1 and week 3. It's not great. You know, it's not much better than what Russ is doing. So as long as you're okay with the inconsistency that Tua may or may not bring, I don't hate the trade. But I will say this much. I think Mike Williams and James Robinson bring a lot more upside than Mike Evans and Ezekiel Elliott. And I just don't like the sample size we have from Tua is a little bit shaky, Kyle. So I'm kind of torn on this one. I don't think it's a bad trade, but you do lose some upside. So I'm a little bit behind on the chat, Kyle, but let us know the rest of your roster. And chat, chime in here for Kyle. Which side of this trade do you guys like? Mike Evans, Zeke, Tua? He already has Russell at quarterback. Or do you like Mike Williams and James Robinson more? Which is the two players he'd be trading away. All right, I'm going to try and get caught up here. Probably not going to happen. King Marcelo, what's up, man? What's up? Would you trade away Elijah Mitchell and Debo for Mike Evans? Probably not. Probably not. Hurts your depth, and Debo is getting double-digit points on a weekly basis, although not a crazy high ceiling this week. I just think, like, if you're getting Mike Evans and a running back who brings some value, it'd be a little bit different. Because even though Mitchell's hurt, like, he's still is bringing value later on in the season. So I don't know if I'd do that trade. Dalvin Cook and Gibson for Kelsey. He has Kelsey in his 0-3. I mean, yeah. If you don't need Gibson and Cook, yeah. Go get Kelsey. 100%. I'm 3-0. Would you trade Mike Williams for D-Hop? Chargers spread the ball too much. Don't trust Williams. You know D-Hop will eat with a struggling Kyler. Well, that's tough. That's tough because, like, DeAndre Hopkins last season through 10 games, let's see, 572 receiving yards, 8 scores. Like, he was really good friends with Kyler in the end zone. 64 targets, 42 receptions. So I would hope that Hopkins would be eating, right? But I will say that, like, Greg Dortch has really stepped up for the Cardinals, and Hollywood Brown is there as well. And then if Zach Ertz can get healthy and Connor is healthy, like, all those guys are taking away targets. So I'm not out on D-Hop, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, like, the Cardinals are still going to spread the football around even when D-Hop comes back to Hollywood Brown, and I do believe that Greg Dortch has solidified role within this offense and enough chemistry with Kyler that, you know, like, D-Hop's going to be involved, but those two receivers are going to get the ball as well. So I just think the comparison is interesting there, but I would probably hold Mike Williams, frankly. Like, I know the boomer bust is annoying as a Williams owner, and, like, I own Mike Williams in 2 leagues, but just the upside potential on a weekly basis is super high. So I would probably hold Mike Williams. The other aspect is D-Hop hasn't played this year. Like, he's not injured. He's not coming off injury. He's been suspended, but at least we know what to expect out of Mike Williams, I guess is the point I'm making. It's interesting, chat. D-Hop or Mike Williams? Who would you rather have? Who should I start at flex? CD Sutton, Jay Williams. Probably Sutton. Probably Sutton. Week 4, Javonte, J-Rob, Dillon, or Madison. Pick 2 in standard scoring. Definitely James Robinson. Madison if Cook doesn't play, but Cook's probably going to suit up, so I probably go Javonte by a hair over Dillon. Who'd you rather have at RB2 for the season, Patterson or Josh Jacobs? Yeah, I'd rather have Patterson, to be honest. Sorry, guys, my throat is apparently aggravated tonight. Patterson is RB6 in full PPR. Like, he looks like what we saw last year. I'd rather have Patterson. Jacobs is RB30 in full PPR. We're still benching Russell Wilson this week. I could stream Winston and Cousins. I'm out on Wilson, man. I mean, he gets the Raiders. Like, I'll say this much: if the Broncos don't perform versus the Raiders, like, we're benching them all. I don't love them this week, but it's a good matchup, you know. I mean, what did Tannehill do last week from a fantasy perspective? 18.76 points. So 264 passing yards, a touchdown, a pick, and a fumble. So, I mean, like, do I love Russell this week? No. Do I like him more than Winston and Cousins? Probably by a hair. You could go Cousins there. Roster grade and recommendations. 10 team scoring. Our standard scoring. Extra flex. No kickers. Hurts, Diggs, JJ, Brown, Bateman, Allen Robinson, Elijah Moore, Jameson Williams, CH, Gibson, Hunt, Edmonds, ETN, San Francisco defense. Yeah, it's a beautiful team, man. Beautiful team. I mean, like, Jalen Hurts, Stephon Diggs, And Justin Jefferson alone is like amazing. Then probably have Brown. So you have 2 flexes. Brown in the flex. Bateman in your extra flex. Starting CEH and Gibson or Hunt. This is a solid 9, man. This is a really good team. Really good team. Smokey 1 and 2, same as with the catch. I need Gallup and Godwin ready soon and productive. Yeah, I sure hope they are for your sake, man. Jerry, what's up, baby? How are you, man? What's up, Jerry? Good to have you. Drop McPherson or ride him to the wheels fall off. I would stick with Money Mac. I think he's having a good week this week. He's in Steven's kicker video for the week. I would roll with Money Mac for sure. Ride him till the wheels fall off. Should I trade Sutton for Mike Evans? I would hold Sutton personally. It's close. Both are fine. I would probably hold Sutton now. Is CD and Robert Woods for Terry McLaurin and Garrett Wilson good for both sides? I personally think the Terry McLaurin side wins. Yeah. I'm trading away Terry and Wilson, but the dude needs a flex. I'm trying to convince him he needs it too. I would keep the, I mean, if you really like CD, like, I'm not going to talk you out of it, but I like Garrett Wilson a lot more than Robert Woods, and I don't think Scary Terry, like, is that much of a drop-off in comparison to CD Lamb. Like, I get it. Lamb's probably the more favorable player, but I like Wilson a lot more than Bobby Trees. Eugene, a 13-man. They go, okay, what? That's an interesting roster, man. How'd you get in that position? I'm trading away Terry. Oh, wait, sorry, I just read that. Would you trade Keenan Allen for T. Higgins? Sure. I don't see a crazy difference between the two. You got to look at which offense you like more there. Higgins is still like your second read, where Keenan Allen, when healthy, is your first read. Should I start Jerry Jeudy, Christian Kirk, or Drake London? Whew. I'd probably bench Jeudy. Unproductive week 2 and week 3. Drake London is going to get the Browns. Christian Kirk has a steep matchup against the Eagles. I'd probably go London, but you can definitely start Christian Kirk even with the tough matchup. Giants defense versus Bears or Bills versus the Ravens. Helped me avoid New York Giants last week. Do it again this week. I probably would not start the Giants defense. Let's see. I mean, 2 points in week 1, 8 in week 2, 0 in week 3. The Bills are banged up. I don't like the Bills this week, man. Like, I think Baltimore and Buffalo are going to have a shootout. I don't like the Bills this week. I don't like the Giants. Who else is available? If you have to choose between those two, it's still the Bills. Ron the Goat, I'm 2-1. Any trades I should make? My team is Hurts, JT, Javonte, Kirk, Sutton, Kelsey, Davis, J-Rob. Bench is Kyler, Monty, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Samuel, and Hendo. I would probably hold this team. Still third in points scored, but I'm nervous about Javonte and Sutton. I wouldn't be nervous about Sutton. He's performing on a weekly basis. Javonte, we're seeing Melvin Gordon be used. We're seeing Mike Boone be used. Okay? I don't know what's happening with the Broncos running backs. Like, Javonte is the back to own in that backfield. But it's just going to be frustrating, man. But, like, you have to upgrade. Like, you can play J-Rob as your RB2 is the advantage you have here. Like, you can look at some trades, Ron. You're in a pretty good position, right? Like, I would say Javonte is someone you can get good value out of. I would probably hold Gabe Davis for now. Monty being banged up, you could keep and or trade. You have both the Chargers receivers, right? With Christian Kirk, Sutton in front of them. Curtis Samuel on the bench. You could consider Henderson's probably deployable as well, but you could consider one of the Chargers wide receivers as a trade. I wouldn't be nervous about Sutton, though. Mr. Sarcastic, what's up, bro? Hello, hello. This is a good team for PPR. Hurts, Fournette, Barkley, Chase, A.J. Brown, Ertz, and Mike Evans. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Fournette, the lowest ceiling player here, but yeah, it's a good team. Trade CH and Fearmouth for Akers and Patterson. Could counter the offer with Godwin or ETN instead of Akers. I would counter with ETN. But I like CH right now. But Patterson's pretty even par. Like, oh wait, you're trading away CH and Muth. You're getting Akers and Patterson. You could try for Godwin over Akers. If you need the running back depth, then Akers and Patterson's fine. Keeping Robinson Williams, but I'm also not high on two, even though we just saw that huge ceiling game. Yeah, I would definitely keep Robinson. Senior Cinnabon, what's up, bro? How are you, man? Good to have you in the house. Hello, hello. Blockbuster trade. Should I give Kamara, Thomas, Andrews, and Pierce for JT Pitts, Dobbins, and Thielen's? No. I would not do that trade. I like the Kamara, Thomas, Andrews, and Pierce side. Andrews, I would not be selling Andrews, period, at all right now. Kyle Pitts, a far better performance in week 3 than what we saw in weeks 1 and 2 at 13.3 fantasy points. But, like, Andrews for Pitts, I don't like the swap. I mean, Andrews are tight end 1. Like, you're keeping Andrews, man, in my opinion. Yeah, I like the Kamara, Michael Thomas, Andrews, and Dameon Pierce side a lot more than the JT, Pitts, Dobbins, and Thielen side. Like, I get that you might receive JT, but, like, I'd rather have a questionable Kamara and Dameon Pierce if it meant that I had Andrews over Pitts and Michael Thomas over Thielen. You know what I'm saying? So, I would hold. I would not do the trade. Should we sell high on D-Hop? I mean, I don't have a problem with it necessarily. Like, I don't know how high you can sell him for right now, but, like, if you want to include, like, Chris Godwin or DeAndre Hopkins are 2 players that I do think you can consider trading just because, like, their name value brings a lot of value. If you need to go get a win-now player, like, I still believe in D-Hop when he comes back from suspension. I still believe in Chris Godwin when he's healthy, but their name value brings a lot of value to trade. So it just depends, you know? Do you think I could trade Khalil Herbert for D-Hop? The guy's a big Bears fan. I could use some RB depth. Yeah, probably. Probably. Duvernay or Dubs? I go Duvernay this week. It's going to be a nice little shootout. If the Bills and Ravens game is not a shootout, you guys are going to hate me, but that's how I see it. But I did like Dubs this week. The Packers get the Patriots. They're giving up a lot of points right now. I don't mind either. Romeo Doobie probably has a little bit more upside. Hope your night is going well. Appreciate that, Lucius. Who do you prefer rest of the season, Henry or JT? I'd probably still go JT. I would be patient with JT, but I like Henry a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not out on Henry. I told you guys, don't panic. Don't take him out of your lineups, right? 25.3 points in week 3. He comes in as RB number 15 in full PPR. JT's coming in as RB 10. Like, both offenses are kind of lackluster. I'd probably still go JT. Caleb, what's up, man? How are you? AJ Dillon or Breece Hall this week? I go Breece Hall. I go Breece Hall. AJ Dillon's starting to scare me a little bit, man. I go Breece Hall. Let's see. Let me try and... Jerry 3-0 in the Catch Fam League. I'm feeling great about my matchup this week. No offense to J-Dub. Yeah, your team's humming, man. Those wide receivers are killing it. Kelsey or Chase? Kelsey. I mean, like, Kelsey's Kelsey. You know what I'm saying? After the review, what's up, bro? Hello, hello. Anyone else lose because the Niners forgot how to play offense? I did not personally. I lost because the Broncos forgot how to play offense. I'm sure someone else out there lost because of Kittle or Jeff Wilson. Maybe not Debo. Ayuk had a good game, too. Man, we can blame it on Jimmy G, right? Keanu, what's up? Rate my team. Hurts, Pittman, Kirk, Eckler, Etienne, Ertz, Higgins, and Debo. It's a pretty good team overall. Like, Hurts is bringing a lot of upside. Pittman and Kirk were obviously good late rounders for you. Higgins is good in the flex. I'm not out on Eckler. Like, I'm fine with Eckler as an RB1. The ceiling might be kind of capped because of the touches to other running backs and because in the red zone he hasn't been fully utilized, but he's fine as an RB1, especially in full PPR. Fine with Ertz as long as he's healthy, and Debo's a good piece here too. Like, your biggest problem is RB2. I don't believe in ETN. Like, James Robinson's been the guy, so outside of that, it's a really solid team as long as Ertz is healthy. So it's still like an 8.5, 9 team. I need a win in our league, John, says Derek. See how close I was to win. I had it. The Cowboys kicker and Cowboys D lost by 4. Yikes. Yikes. Hey, don't give up, man. Anything's possible. You can lose your first 5 games and still make the playoffs. Shay, what's up? Hello, hello. McLaurin and D-Hop for London, a solid trade. No. You're giving up a lot of potential value with D-Hop there. Like, I like London, don't get me wrong, but that's a lot of value to give up overall. So I would probably not do that trade unless you can get a second piece. Like, that McLaurin and D-Hop are valuable enough that you should be able to get a second player out of that trade. Anton, where could I upgrade? Russ, CMC, Dameon Pierce, Lamb and Waddle, Andrews, London, benches Godwin, Walker, Doobie, Dobbins, Cod White, Pierce, Carter, Jameson, Williams. So, I mean, your RB1 and 2 are fine. Your receivers are good. Your tight end's fine. Quarterback's your biggest issue. Receivers on the bench are good with Godwin and Doobie. Williams on IR. How did Alec Pierce play in week 3? He did suit up, right? 9.1 fantasy points, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 61 receiving yards. So, like, he's fine on the bench, too. Running back depth is a little light. Like, Walker hasn't done much, you know. Dobbins still being worked back in. Rashad White's a handcuff. Michael Carter's fine. Your running back depth's not bad. Quarterback's where you could upgrade. Other than that, the team looks pretty solid. Do I trade Patterson for Mixon or for Fournette? Or could use one more wide receiver? You could trade for Mixon. I don't love Fournette right now. The offensive line is bad. The offense is looking sketchy. Brady's having issues. I know receivers haven't been healthy, so it's going to change some things. But I'd rather trade for Mixon. But, like, at the moment, man, I mean, like, for example, Mixon comes in as RB16. Cordero, Patty, and Cheese comes in as RB6. So, like, statistically, you're losing the trade. If you could trade Patterson for Mixon and, like, a wide receiver brings some type of value, that would be a dream because name value is coming into play here. You probably won't be able to get it done, but, like, I mean, I like Mixon over Fournette. If you can get a solid receiver, I'm fine with it. Depends on the rest of your roster, Chase. Should I drop Rashad Penny and pick up Olave? Yes. Yes, I like that move. Full PPR, yeah. I have a lot of faith in Penny right now, guys. Should I trade Sutton Fournette for Kamara and Pittman? I probably prefer the Sutton and Fournette side just because Kamara hasn't been performing. But the trade's not awful. If you believe in Kamara, then I think this trade is worth considering. Sutton's been performing. Pittman has been performing. Fournette's been playing better than Kamara. But like I just said, I worry about that Buccaneers offensive line quite a bit. Oh, man. Chat, what do you guys think? Sutton and Fournette or Kamara and Pittman? That's a close one. Let's see. Pick up Jamal Williams or Khalil Herbert. I mean, I would have a waiver in for both. Don't get me wrong. Here's what you got to evaluate here, Jason. Jamal Williams is more than likely your starter for the Lions for the next 2 weeks. Okay? Like, almost guaranteed, right? So, he gets Seattle and New England. right? Then the Lions have a bye week in week 6. Okay. He was their lead back against Minnesota in week 3 at 24.7 fantasy points in week 1. We really only saw him come in towards the red zone, although he had 11 rushing attempts on the day and he had 16 fantasy points. So I probably lean Jamal Williams, but Khalil Herbert is still very, very valuable. We saw that. I mean, he had Houston in week 3, but he gets the Giants in Minnesota, Washington, New England in the next coming weeks. But, like, Monty is still day-to-day. So, like, if you need to win right now, then Williams is your priority. If you don't, then you can make an argument for either player. They're both very valuable in their own respect. Shay, I'm in a 10-man full PPR. My RBs are Kamara, Swift, Dylan, Hunt. Should I drop Hunt for either Williams or Khalil Herbert? Would be using my number 1 waiver priority. Oh, man. Hunt or Dylan. Oh. Who else is on your roster? Like, who's on the bench? Yes, if you own Swift, you should be going after Jamal Williams. He brings more value to your team than Khalil Herbert. You know? Because then you have the automatic handcuff, right? Like, you don't lose the Lions' backfield. So Jamal Williams should be the priority. And, like, Williams still showing some productivity when Swift is on the field. And I think that'll happen with Herbert, too. Don't get me wrong. I do think, like, we heard about all offseason that Herbert was going to start to cut into some of Monty's carries potentially. And I think after that explosive game we just saw, I could definitely see that happening. But I'd probably go Jamal Williams here. Who you should drop? It's Hunt or Dylan. On the season, Hunt is RB 14 in full PPR. Dylan is RB 26. But he has New England, the Giants, the Jets, Washington. He's got a good little stretch here. It's close, man. It's close. Hunt has Atlanta, the Chargers, New England, Baltimore. It's not a bad stretch either. Trust your gut. But yeah, I do think Jamal Williams brings a lot of value to your team. Ravens secondary is burnt toast. I need Davis to go off. Yeah, it has been kind of surprising. They've not played well. They're just like allowing shootout after shootout. Vaden, Higgins, Metcalf, and Jerry J for Debo. No, there's got to be a second part to that trade, right? Like, we're missing something, right? No, that's way too much. Debo, I mean, regardless of what he did last season, we're in a new season. He's wide receiver 33. Like, he's fine enough. 11.6 in week 1, 13.7 in week 2, 12.9 in week 3. But, like, that's way too much value to give up. Way too much depth. Let's see. Drake London or Curtis Samuel. I'm also starting CPAT if that matters. I would still go Drake London. I like Samuel this week, even against the Cowboys, but Drake London's your number 1 option within that offense. I will go I will go Drake London. Excuse me. Najee and T. Higgins for Jefferson and J-Rob. Who wins? JJ and J-Rob. Yeah, if you're buying JJ low, like, I love T. Higgins, but if you're swapping Higgins for JJ, that's beautiful. J-Rob has been the better running back thus far on the season. Najee's just capped within that offense. If it's Justin Jefferson and J-Rob, that side wins for sure. Jeez Louise, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, CH, Breece Hall, Patterson. Start 2. Jamal Williams. If we don't see Swift suit up Jamal Williams for sure, then it's probably between Aaron Jones and CEH, but Breece Hall and Patterson are definitely in the mix here. That's a tough one. There's a lot of good names. Breece Hall gets the Steelers, Patterson gets the Falcons, CEH gets the Bucks, so I guess CEH is probably a sit. But this is also a game script where I just don't know. Like, the Chiefs are going to find ways to get into the red zone, which could benefit CEH, you know? So, ooh, that's a tough one. There's an argument for all these players in, like, either direction. That's a tough one. Aaron Jones gets the Pats. I like Jamal Williams versus the Seahawks. And I'd probably keep Hollywood Brown in your flex, as I see your next comment here. Is it crazy to say Jamal Williams and Cordero Patterson here? If you don't go Patterson, go Aaron Jones. You can make an argument for all those guys. Falcons just don't pass a lot. It's true. CPAT or AJ Dillon. If I start Drake London, I still like CPAT. Like CPAT and Drake London have been productive enough. Derek, don't give up. That's right, bro. Do I trade Carter and Kittle for Andrews? Yep. I have Henry, Fournette, Pierce, Jamal Williams, but week 6, I'll only have Fournette. What do I do? I don't care about week 6. If you can get Andrews, do it. I like to trade. No offense to Kittle. Would you trade DK or Terry for Olave? I'd probably hold DK and Terry personally. I really like Olave. Don't get me wrong. I'd probably still hold DK or Terry. Spence, what's up, baby? Hello, hello. Good dub this week. I was trying to trade Gibson before Robinson's return. Who can I get? Dobbins. I mean, I think Dobbins is a fine trade, but just keep in mind, like, we still don't quite know what that backfield's going to look like in terms of, you know, production when Robinson comes back. So Gibson could still be the guy. He could end up being more valuable than Dobbins. I don't know. But you could trade him for Dobbins. How about Deontay Johnson and McLaurin for London? I have a good feeling about these rookies. I mean, that's fine. But you should be able to trade Deontay Johnson or Scary Terry for Drake London. You shouldn't have to give up 2 receivers. You're still overpaying. So, like, Deontay Johnson is capped because he plays for the Steelers, and that's how their offense has looked on the season. Scary Terry is kind of capped because Dotson and Samuel have been productive, and because he plays for Washington. Like, listen, it's fine to be a fan of Drake London. I am as well, but you don't need to give up 2 receivers, right? Like, 2 number 1 receivers on their respective teams, even if their offenses are not, you know, incredibly ecstatic from a fantasy standpoint. DC King, what's up? What's going on, man? Hello, hello. Would you trade Mixon straight up for Chubb rest of the season? Yes. Yeah. Should I trade DJ Moore and DK for AJ Brown and Devontae and Edmonds? Wait, hold on. Should I trade DJ Moore and DK for AJ Brown? Yeah, you can do that. Devontae and Edmonds for Cup? Yeah. Like, if you can lose the depth, sure. It depends on your roster, but yeah, these are some good examples of selling low. But if you don't need Edmonds, you don't need DJ Moore, then sure, I'm fine with this. Flex question at PPR, Curtis Samuel, Adam Thielen, Gibby. I'd probably go Curtis Samuel here. Thoughts on Eckler going forward? I'm fine with Eckler. I'm not panicking on Eckler for any reason. I think he'll be just fine. Yeah. Like, the ceilings have been capped because you have other running backs taking touches, and we haven't seen him, like, super active in the red zone. But especially if you're in full PPR, I would not panic on Eckler. Would you do Russ straight up for Trevor Lawrence moving forward? I consider it. I mean, there's still plenty of time for Russell Wilson to be productive. Don't get me wrong. He gets the Raiders. Like I said, it's a good matchup this week. If the Broncos look how they looked in the first couple weeks versus the Raiders, then we have an issue. And then Trevor Lawrence gets the Eagles this week. It's a steep matchup. He might have a bad week. And he gets Houston, Indy, and the Giants, and then Denver, and then Vegas. Like, it's a pretty good stretch there. We're going to find out a lot about Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars in that stretch. Oh, man. Trust your gut on that one. That one's tough. Like, you might have a bad week 4 for Lawrence and a good week 4 for Russ. So maybe you hold. If you can add Lawrence to your roster without dropping Russ, that's probably the best case scenario. Drop Noah Brown for Romeo Doubs. Yes, I would do so. I like Noah Brown. I've been a fan of Noah Brown. But with Gallup coming back and Schultz coming back, there's potential for some of that productivity to get 8 into. I like Romeo. He's trending in the right direction. So, you know, at the end of the day, CD is going to be in front of Noah Brown. And now Gallup and Schultz will probably be as well. But Noah Brown has done enough to solidify himself within that offense where he can still have a role. You know what I'm saying? I could drop Lazard instead. Should I drop Hunt and go for both? I wouldn't drop Lazard. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough. I don't think I would. I think I would probably drop Dylan. It's tough, man. I'd probably drop Dylan over Hunt. And I'd probably go for one or the other. Jason roster is Cousins, Brady, Dak, Eckler, Mixon, Singletary, Hendo, Pittman, Deontay, Higgins, Burks, D-Hop, J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Andrews. Tight end, anything I can improve. I mean, quarterback's your biggest issue, and the fact that you have 3 quarterbacks is not good. Like, you got to just cut ties with one of these QBs. I get that Dak isn't playing right now and everything, but you just got to cut ties with somebody and move forward with somebody to give you some more room in terms of your wide receivers and running backs. Like, Andrews needs to stay as your tight end, right? Like, you're not moving on from Mark Andrews whatsoever, but maybe make some more room for potential running backs and receivers. That'd be my biggest note. But the team looks pretty solid. I mean, Eckler and Mixon are your starters, right? Pittman, Deontay, and Higgins in the flex, right? If you have an extra flex, it's Amon-Ra. If it's not, then you can put Amon-Ra over Deontay or even Higgins, right? So the team's pretty good. It's just quarterback. You have too many, and you don't have great quarterbacks. So, like, it sounds crazy, but, I mean, you can drop Cousins or Brady and move forward with the other and then just hold Dak to see what happens later in the season. I traded Christian Kirk in Hollywood for A.J. Brown. What do you think? I have Devonta Smith. I'm thinking on trading away high. What do you think about my trade? So here's the issue, like, in my eyes, just being honest with you, like, Christian Kirk is wide receiver 6, right? And then Hollywood Brown is wide receiver 8. And then you gained A.J. Brown, he's wide receiver 7, right in between them. So my note would be you should have gotten a second player, right? A.J. Brown's on the sexy offense. He's on the Eagles. Everyone's looking at them like he's on display. I get it. But you traded wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 8 in full PPR for wide receiver 7. You should have been able to get a second piece within this trade. And you can trade Devonta Smith as a high. Like, you can trade him high. That's fine. But I do think Devonta Smith's going to have a relatively productive season. Like, personally, if it was my roster, I would have rather had Christian Kirk, Hollywood Brown, and Devonta Smith as opposed to Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. So, I mean, I guess it depends on the entire roster as a whole. But I'm not crazy about the trade. Just looking at it statistically on the season thus far. Like, A.J. Brown will probably have the best season, but I like the depth as opposed to the non-depth there. And like I said, I really think he should have been able to get a second player out of that trade. Is it time to start panicking on the Raiders and Adams? Maybe on the Raiders, Jerry, but not on Adams. Adams is fine. Adams is fine. He has had a touchdown every game of the season. The ceilings aren't incredibly high. I get it, right? But, like, especially in your scenario where Adams is like your wide receiver 4, no, don't be panicking. The Raiders we can panic on. They're the only 0-3 team in the league. And McDaniels, I just don't know if he's a true head coach, man. I don't. Raiders you can panic on. Adams is fine. I'm playing JJ, AJ Brown, and Devontae. Going to be tough. Yikes. Mahomes, Everett, and Landry for Brady, Andrews, and Pittman. What do y'all think? I still say you hold the Andrews side. It's an upgrade at quarterback. I get it. But now I see saying, would you trade away Cousins for Tua? Like, I like that more. Andrews brings a ton of value to your roster. You can get by with a lackluster quarterback. The advantage at tight end on a weekly basis is just so incredibly valuable. So I would hold, but chime in for Jason here. Mahomes, Everett, Landry are Brady, Andrews, Pittman. The other note I would make is Landry for Pittman. Like, you're losing value. Like, you're losing Pittman for Landry, you're losing value. What do you think about Deontay and Zeke for Debo? You could do it. But Deontay, so far on the season, if I'm not mistaken, he's wide receiver 29. Debo comes in as wide receiver 33. So Deontay's playing better football. I'd probably hold. Unless he just really don't need Deontay and Zeke, I'd probably hold. Albert, what's up, bro? Hello, hello. Is Waddle going to play Thursday? Let's check. See if we can get an update for you. He's limited in today's practice with a groin injury. He's trending in the right direction for Thursday's game against the Bengals. So, trending in the right direction is the update I have at the moment. Hopefully he plays. I have him in the league. Would you cash in on Madison for Jeff Wilson if you have Dalvin? I think it's a fair trade, baby Santa. If you have like the depth and you don't need Jeff Wilson, then yeah, I think it's fine. I think that's fine. Should I do Hollywood Brown and Gabe Davis for Knox and Knox for Waddle and Schultz? Is that Schultz and Njoku or Schultz or Njoku? Listen, I like Waddle a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'd probably hold the Hollywood Brown, Gabe Davis, and Knox side, though. Again, Knox is not giving you a very good ceiling on a weekly basis. I like Schultz more than Njoku. I do think Njoku is going to be a little bit inconsistent, guys. I get he had a big week in week 3. But a lot of that had to do with the coverages that the Browns were seeing. A lot of it had to do with the matchup. I would not trust Njoku until we see a consistent pattern emerge. I like Schultz more. And Hollywood Brown and Gabe Davis are playing good football. I get Davis has been a little bit in the slump since week 1. I think he's gonna have a good week 4, a good bounce back. But let's not be so down on Hollywood Brown, guys. Like, he's still wide receiver 8 in full PPR. I get that Waddle is undoubtedly the best player in this trade, coming in as wide receiver 4. But I probably wouldn't do the trade if it was me personally. I'd probably hold the Hollywood Brown side. Stafford, Patterson, Jamal Williams, Evans, Chase, Goodert, Hollywood Brown, kicker. I like how it just says kicker. Cowboys defense, Brady, CH, Breece Hall, Jones, Swifty, Godwin, D-Hop, and IR. Thoughts on who to trade? I have tons of RB depth. You have a lot of depth in general. This is a good team, man. I would hold this team. Like, listen, man. Here's what you do. You look at your roster, right? I mean, Stafford's the worst part of this roster, but outside of that, it's a solid roster. And you decide, like, who do I value the least here? Or who do I look at as equivalent to another player, right? Like, is CH equivalent to Cordell Patterson in my mind, right? Is CH equivalent to Breece Hall? Excuse me. Is Mike Evans equivalent to Chris Godwin in my mind, right? If you have players who you feel like are equivalent to your bench players, throw them out on the trade block. See what you can get. Go fishing. See what is out there. You don't have to accept anything. You do have a lot of running back depth. You might be able to trade Aaron Jones just straight up for a really good player, right? I mean, you have the Lions backfield. You have Patterson. You have CH. You have Breece Hall. Like, you're in a good spot here. It's a good team. Like, I don't think you need to do any trades, but you can go out there and see what happens, right? I just traded Hollywood Brown and CH for Devontae Adams. I'm not against it, but Hollywood Brown is wide receiver 8 in full PPR. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, on the other hand, at the running back position, is running back 4 in full PPR, right? And then Adams is coming in as wide receiver 11. So traded a top 5 RB and a top 8 receiver for wide receiver 11. I like Adams a lot, but my only point here is, even though Adams has the most name value, you should have been able to get a second player, right? Like, you should have been able to get a running back for CEH with the level of play we've seen out of Hollywood Brown and CEH thus far on the season. Chase, what's up, bro? Is Hines droppable? Yeah, if you need to drop him, that's fine. Where can I improve my squad? Full PPR is Hurts, Mike Williams, Sutton, Bateman, London, Gallup, Schultz, Saquon Swift, Hendo, Arham, Ramondre. There we go. Madison, Ricard White, Youngway Coop in the Buffs defense. Buffalo's defense. The Buffs defense. So obviously you're fine at quarterback. Tight end, you've been worried. But with Schultz is healthy, he's fine. Receivers look pretty good to me, man. Running back, you could use some help. Like, I just don't know what trade value you can get out of Ramondre, Ricard White, and Hendo. But you can trade those guys. I would keep Madison. Too valuable of a handcuff. And I would keep Saquon and Swift. Like, you need some help at running back. You could probably trade Gallup if you need to. But with the running back situation being a little bit shaky with Swift's injury, I would probably hold Williams, Sutton, Bateman, and London. Because they're going to at least bring consistency to the flex position. So, and you definitely have to hold Saquon here. And like Swift, unless you get an arm and a leg, like a beautiful offer, I would hold Swift. Hendo, Ramondre, Ricard, White, Gallup. Put them on the trade block. See if you can get a solid running back that you believe in. How many points do you think Aaron Jones is going to get this week versus New England? I have no worldly idea. Like, I mean, you know what you're getting when you draft Aaron Jones. You're getting inconsistency, right? But he's still RB9 on the season. 10.6 points in week 1, 32 in week 2, 4.7 in week 3. Like, you can have anywhere between... I mean, literally, Jones could have anywhere in between 4.7 and 32 fantasy points. That's how I feel about him. It's a pretty good matchup. I do like Jones this week. Yeah, I like Jones. Walker, Herbert, Henry, Patterson, Waddle, Lamb, Everett, London starting. Also have Samuel and A.J. Dillon. Who could I trade for Amon-Ra St. Brown? Or what trade could I do? I mean, you could throw Curtis Samuel and A.J. Dillon out there and see what you can get. But I wouldn't trade the rest of your roster. I would hold Herbert, Henry, Patterson, Waddle, Lamb, Everett, and Drake London. See what you can get for Curtis Samuel and A.J. Dillon. Like, the value that Curtis Samuel is bringing to a lot of rosters right now as he's sitting as wide receiver 10 in full PPR is that he didn't cost you anything. Like, he was a waiver pickup. So if you can use him in the right sense in a trade, I like him. Do I think you can get Amon-Ra St. Brown for A.J. Dillon and Curtis Samuel? Probably not. But you could try. You may have to go for a lower tier receiver. But like, I think if you package Curtis Samuel and A.J. Dillon to the right team, you can get a pretty solid team. If you're going for Amon-Ra, like, you probably have to offer like A.J. Dillon and Drake London, which is fine. But I wouldn't lose Waddle or CeeDee Lamb, and you need C-Pat behind Derrick Henry on this team. David, thing is that I'm way too deep in receiver depth. I have Allen, A.J. Brown, Thomas, Deontay Johnson, Godwin, so couldn't get a second player. Really good on RBs. Right now I have Fournette, Mixon, Sanders, and Alexander. Well, I guess that's fine. And as long as your roster looks good head to toe, then I don't have a problem with it. Timeout with Henry in the building. What's up, man? How are you? Good to have you in the house. Good to see you. How are you doing? Trade London and Edmonds for Amon-Ra. Yeah, I do that trade in a heartbeat. Yeah. I mean, just keep in mind, Amon-Ra might not play in week 4. He might miss week 5. He might rest through the bye. But he's still going to have a really good season when he's healthy. Trade away Dobbins, Akers, and Breece Hall. Get Hunt, London, and Gibson. Yeah, I'd probably do that trade. I mean, you are losing, like, if you don't need the RB value, if you don't need the 3 running backs, Hunt, London, and Gibson's a pretty good haul. If you need the extra receiver, I don't hate it. Baby Santa, I have Madison, don't have Dalvin. Would you still make that trade for Jeff Wilson? My RB2 right now is Singletary. I probably wouldn't then, because you probably need Jeff Wilson floating around just in case, right? Like, the problem with Madison is he's not going to bring you value unless Cook is hurt. So you're sitting around hoping that Dalvin Cook gets a new injury or the shoulder injury gets more serious. So, like, you're just taking a risk where at the moment Jeff Wilson is a starting running back until Eli Mitchell returns. So I would keep Jeff Wilson in that scenario if Singletary's your RB2. How about Gabe Davis and Zeke for Waddle, or Bateman and Davis for Waddle? I'd rather go Davis and Zeke for Waddle. I think that's the best trade you've mentioned. Baby Santa, also I have Eli Mitchell. Yeah, I'd probably hold Jeff Wilson then. I'd probably hold Jeff Wilson. Should I trade Swift for Kamara and Hall? I have Mixon, Pierce, and Zeke, full PPR. I'm not against this trade. I am a huge fan of Swift. I think this is the first time where I've seen a trade that is sending Swift away where I'm like, I consider that. Man, if Kamara can get back on track, like, this is a really good trade. Chat, what do you think? Would you trade away Swift for Kamara and Hall if you already had Mixon, Pierce, and Zeke? Here's the thing. If you don't do it, you can start Mixon and Pierce in the meantime. If you do the trade, then you kind of have a conundrum. You have Kamara, Breece Hall, Mixon, Pierce, and Zeke. Like, you're going to have some decisions to make on a weekly basis. And Kamara is a big question mark right now. So, I might just hold, but I don't hate the trade. It's a tough one. Ash, what's going on? Hello, hello. Jeez Louise, who should I trade in my 4-team family $100 league? Oh, crap. Allen Cup, CMC, Kelsey Diggs, JJ Tucker on steroids. Cowboys defense. Man, I mean, who do you trade on this team? You keep Allen and Diggs. You keep that stack. You keep Cup. You keep Kelsey. I think you still keep JJ. What's your record? Like, I know JJ's been playing down and CMC's upside hasn't been crazy. But I would imagine this team's doing all right. Maybe CMC if you can get the right haul due to name value. Maybe Justin Jefferson if you get the right haul due to name value. Since you have Cup and Diggs. Everyone else I keep. But JJ's really hard for me to trade, even with him performing down. Andrew, what do I do? I have CMC, Swift, Monty on bench. I have Walker, Ricard, White. If Monty is injured, who do I play? No one on waiver except for McKinnon, Moss, Pirine, Algier, Ingram. So, do you have... So, I think Monty's probably going to play. The bigger issue is if Monty does play, does Herbert still eat into his carries? It's a good matchup versus the Giants. Like, Pollard and Zeke look great. So, I think Monty's probably going to play, to be honest. And I think with what we saw out of Pollard and Zeke versus the Giants, you're probably okay to start Monty. But let's answer your question, right? If Monty doesn't play and Swift is out, who do you start? That's tough. That's really tough. You only have McKinnon, Moss, Pirine, Algier, and Ingram. Like Kenneth Walker and Ricard White are on your roster, but you just can't trust either of those guys. You probably go Walker. Like, it's not good. But you probably go Walker and just hope he finds the end zone. Like, or you pick up Ingram. Like, that's the next best option. Like, in your scenario, I might drop Ricard White and go for Ingram. It's not a great scenario to be in, though. Obviously, you already know that, right? But I think Monty will probably play. Might be limited, but he'll probably play. So, sorry, guys. Those of you who don't know, I'm still getting over COVID. It really does linger, so I still have to wipe my nose during live streams, which I hate. But anyways, let's move on. Should I drop Hawkinson for Dawson? Pitts is my starter. Yeah. I don't mind that. Like, I don't see a crazy difference between the two. Which offense do you like more, the Bills or the Lions? Probably go with the Bills. Lions are still all right, though. Can you let me know what I can do for trades? Sure. Would you drop either Henderson or Singletary for Jamal Williams? Yeah. Yeah. If you need to win right now, yeah. I probably drop Hendo. Akers has been getting more touches the last 2 weeks. I still like Hendo. Don't get me wrong. But if you need to win right now, I drop Henderson for Williams and keep Singletary. David Hurts, Mixon, Fournette, Allen, A.J. Brown, Pitts, Johnson. Bench, you got Sanders, Khalil Herbert, Michael Thomas, Godwin, and Hawkinson at bench. You can trade tight end unless you're really holding on to a second tight end for Pitts' bye week. I think you just continue to roll with Pitts. I will keep Allen and A.J. Brown. You can probably trade Godwin just due to name value. You can get pretty good value in return. You've got Mixon and Fournette. I would hold Sanders, but you can trade Khalil Herbert and Godwin. It's kind of tough to say. Like the biggest thing with trades is it just depends on your league, and it depends on specific teams and like what their needs are. It's a little bit tough to say, exactly what you can get in return for certain players. So those are the two guys I would view as trade value on your team. Like, I think you should hold Deontay Johnson. You could consider trading him, but he at least brings like a consistent floor on a weekly basis to your roster. So I'd probably hold him, right? With Keenan Allen being banged up and Michael Thomas being banged up. So I would like to trade Godwin with Herbert and or Hawkinson, see what you can get. Najee for Justin Jefferson, what? Yes. You take the Justin Jefferson side. I mean, are we really at that point in the season? Like, I get it. It was a bad week 3. And week 2 was disappointing in comparison to week 1. But he's still wide receiver 9 in full PPR. I get that the Vikings offense doesn't look very promising. He gets Lattimore in week 4. I think it's Chicago and Miami. Miami a little bit stout, but a bye week. Then Arizona, Washington, Buffalo, Dallas, New England, the Jets, Detroit, Indy, the Giants, and Green Bay. Like, I mean, I want Justin Jefferson on my team. Like, if you don't need Najee, if you don't need the depth at running back, then yeah, I would do this trade. Let's see here. Craig Reynolds available too. I don't want to pull the trigger on Reynolds just yet, but there's a chance we see Reynolds get into action. Like, Reynolds was productive last season when Swift was out. Don't get me wrong, he's a player to keep an eye on. But just with what we've seen Jamal Williams do on the season, like, I probably trust Jamal Williams. Which is, I think it's a good point to bring up. We haven't talked about Craig Reynolds. He's a good back, but I probably wouldn't pick him up over a guy like Mark Ingram in your situation. Walker, I wish tight end wasn't a wasteland. I have Everett, hoping to get Njoku. I have Dalton Schultz and Irv Smith. Hope Irv Smith starts going off. So I think David Njoku and Irv Smith are incredibly volatile. Like, they're going to be inconsistent. Like, Dalton Schultz is a good piece. When he's healthy, he's going to be consistent for you. So I would be happy that you have Schultz. And I would keep it, like, I think Schultz and Everett is fine. I really do. You just have to understand, like, when you're looking at tight ends in that tier, right? Like, I get Gerald Everett had a bad week 3, and the whole offense was disappointing versus Jacksonville in week 3. But when you're looking at guys like Irv Smith, right? David Njoku and Gerald Everett, they're not going to be on every single week. Like, Irv Smith, 14.6 points in week 2, 5.2 in week 3, 0 in week 1. And I get that David Njoku is like the hot name right now, but 1.7 points in week 1, 6.2 in week 2, 23.9 in week 3. Yes, he is a good matchup, and a couple good matchups coming up with the Falcons, the Chargers, New England, and Baltimore. But you guys, I'm warning you right now, be prepared to be disappointed by David Njoku, okay? We've seen this happen before. He had 27.9 points week 5 last year. He had 10.6 in week 1 last year. He had 12.5 in week 12 last year and 12.8 in week 17 last year. He finished as tight end 23 on the season. Those 4 instances I just named were the only instances last year where he had double-digit fantasy points. Every other game, he had 4.1 or less points outside of weeks 8 and week 9, where he had 8.8 and 6.9 respectively. So you have 2 decent stat lines, weeks 8 and 9, 4 solid stat lines every other week, 5.9 or less fantasy points, and 1, 2, 3 goose eggs, okay? And a 1.6 performance against week 6. It's a different offense this year. It's a new year. I get it. But you just have to be prepared in this tier of tight ends to be disappointed. So when I look at this, Dalton Schultz, when healthy, is a consistent piece, you know? And Everett is on a really good offense. So I'd hate to see you get caught up, you know, in the game of Irv Smith versus an Njoku versus Everett on a weekly basis. Like, it's better just to pick one and ride or die with them behind Dalton Schultz, if that makes sense. Have Dak returning soon. Thug it out with Wentz or drop for Goff. I would say it this way. Like, I view Wentz and Goff relatively similar overall. Goff is sitting at QB 11. Wentz, on the other hand, is sitting at QB 6, but he had a really bad week 3. So he gets Dallas in week 4, then Tennessee, Chicago, Green Bay, Indy, Minnesota. That's Wentz. This is not a bad stretch necessarily. Goff gets Seattle, New England, and has a bye week. So it's probably better for your roster because we don't quite know if Dak's going to be ready like week 5, 6, 7, or 8. Probably better for your roster just to thug it out with Carson Wentz, right? But if you want to go with Goff, I don't hate it, but you just have to be prepared. Like, Goff might be on bye week when you still need a quarterback, so it's close there. And like I said, Wentz statistically is performing better on the season. They had a really bad week 3, so I will say this much for Goff, who I've liked as a streaming option. He might not have Amon-Ra St. Brown for a week or two, and he's probably not going to have DeAndre Swift for a week or two. That hurts his value. So I'd probably stick it out with Wentz if I were you. Close, though. Diego, start 2. Jamal Williams, Javonte Pierce, Khalil Herbert. Herbert, if Monty doesn't play. Okay. But we don't quite know yet. Okay. Herbert and Jamal Williams. You're taking advantage of them handcuffs, baby. If Monty plays, then he could go Javonte. It's a good matchup versus the Raiders. And he could go Pierce versus the Chargers. I would just trust your gut there. But if Monty doesn't play, then I'll go Herbert and Williams this week for sure. My league doesn't trade much at all. It sucks, but I like my team. It's fun either way. 100%, man. You know, hey, I don't have a problem with just sticking it out with your roster. Is Raheem Mostert droppable? Yeah, probably. Just too much inconsistency in that backfield. If there's better options, sure. Timeout with Henry, of course, man. Of course, that's what we're here for. Except 2 and trade away Cousins, I'm not against it for your roster. Yeah, I'm not against it for your roster. Should I try to trade Godwin for Higgins and maybe Sutton or Olave? If you can get... Well, it depends. This is probably a 1-for-1 trade. I think at the end of the year, Godwin, Higgins, and Sutton are in a very similar tier, and Olave could be in a really good position to join a close tier like that. Godwin's the most injury prone. I'd probably go for Sutton here. Sutton, then Higgins, then Olave. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Godwin for Olave is close. It's close. I probably still want Godwin over Olave, but that could change. Also have the drop off at running back after Mixon with Pollard, Hendo, and Breece Hall. Any packages for RB2 out of Kupp, Monroe, Godwin, DJ Moore, Elijah Moore, Robbie Anderson. So I do think Elijah Moore is probably going to improve with Zach Wilson at quarterback. So you might be able to sell him high after this week. But outside of that, like the issue you're in right now is Amon-Ra might miss a week or two. Godwin's hurt. DJ Moore's not performing. Robbie Anderson's far too inconsistent. So, like, you kind of need to keep someone behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you probably have to keep DJ Moore and Godwin, you know? Because Godwin still might not play. But I would want to trade DJ Moore if I were you. And looking at, if these are all your receivers, I'd probably want to keep Godwin. So I don't think he's part of the trade, right? Like, you could trade Henderson with DJ Moore. I don't know what you could get for it, though. I'm assuming you don't want to trade a running back, right? Or if you're looking to hold value at running back, you keep Mixon, you keep Pollard, you keep Breece Hall. Henderson's the most, your best option to trade, right? So Henderson and DJ Moore is not incredibly attractive in terms of a trade package. Maybe you wait a week and see if Elijah Moore has a big week, if Zach Wilson is the starting quarterback for the Jets this week. I just think you're not in a position where you can trade Godwin. And you might, for the week, not even be in a position where you can trade DJ Moore or Elijah Moore. Because what if Godwin sits and Amon-Ra sits? And then you're going to have to make a decision, do I start DJ Moore or Elijah Moore? Because you're not starting Robbie Anderson, right? So it's just tough. It's tough. Thoughts on Hollywood? Thoughts on Hollywood once D-Hop comes back? Sell in week 6 now. Like, Kyler Murray can support two receivers just fine. And Hollywood Brown is going to continue to be a, like, top-tier target for Kyler Murray just because he has that chemistry with Kyler Murray. They have a chemistry with each other, sorry. So I wouldn't say you need to sell him necessarily. I would continue to hold him personally. All right, let me see here. What do you think about Conklin then? I like Conklin, but here's the issue, guys, is Conklin gained most of his value because Joe Flacco was the quarterback. Wilson's getting ready to take over, so I don't know what Conklin's going to look like with Zach Wilson at quarterback. I mean, Zach Wilson coming in as quarterback, I don't think it's a bad thing for the Jets, but it does change the fantasy landscape of the Jets that we've gotten used to over the first 3 weeks of the season. So I'm not against Conklin, but it's just as much of a risk as anyone else. Drop Logan Thomas for Njoku or Conklin. So Logan Thomas, and I don't want to say Logan Thomas had a bad week in week 3. The Washington Commanders had a bad week in week 3. Against Dallas in week 4. It's not a great matchup for the Commanders. But then they get Tennessee, Chicago, Green Bay, Indy, Minnesota before they face Philly again. But then they get Houston, Atlanta, and the Giants, a bye week in the Giants. So, like, Logan Thomas is still coming in as tight end 13 on the season. I'd probably hold Logan Thomas personally. But hey, listen, guys, like I said, with a lot of these tight ends, Njoku, Everett, Irv Smith, Conklin, Logan Thomas, like, just try not to overthink it. A lot of these guys are going to be in a similar tier throughout the entire season. Like, you got your tier 1 at tight ends, Kelsey Andrews. You got your tier 2, Waller, probably Kyle Pitts, even though he's still coming in as tight end 15. Kittle potentially, now that he's healthy. Schultz potentially can get healthy. I like Goddard a lot. Goddard's coming in as tight end 6. Ertz if he's healthy. And Pat Freiermuth has been playing pretty good football, right? So, you have kind of that middle tier, which is kind of rangy. And then I think you have a third tier. It's just everyone else. There's just too much inconsistency. And, you're going to see that third tier eat into that second tier at times. But, it's just better to just choose a guy and ride or die with them. Try not to overthink tight end. If you didn't draft Andrews or Kelsey and you don't get a good enough value out of a guy like Goddard or Waller, and you're probably going to be hurting for most of the season. So I get, trying to look at it on a weekly basis and trying to get the best upside player at this point in the season trying to secure the best possible tight end, but the issue is we just don't have a large enough sample size. So I would roll with whoever you're the most confident in personally. Ricky, if my roster is Herbert, Jones, Eckler, Sanders, Jacobs, A.J. Brown, Deontay, Judy, Garrett Wilson, Devonta, Kelsey, should I trade for a better RB2 or flex? Thinking Wilson, Sanders, and Smith, but don't know for who. I mean, this is a good team, man. I don't think you necessarily need to make any crazy moves. I would rather sell Jacobs coming off of a big game. Jerry Judy, who's got a question mark around him. I would keep Devonta Smith. I mean, okay, you got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. Like, yeah, you can consider trading Devonta. But, like, Eagles are one of those teams right now, man. It's okay to have multiple pieces of their offense. So, I would say those three guys are who I would trade. But, yeah, RB2, I mean, like, here's the thing, man. You could just start Eckler and Jones on a weekly basis. Like, Eckler has still been consistent in full PPR. Those ceilings have been lower. And at least you get the boomer bust potential with Aaron Jones. And then Miles Sanders perfectly fine RB3. So, I don't think your flex is in any danger at the moment. You know, A.J. Brown, Deontay, Garrett Wilson, Devonta Smith. Like, you got four solid pieces there. And Judy's fine as a fifth piece, but he is someone you can trade, right? Like, you could probably get a decent player for Judy and Josh Jacobs is what I would like to see. Khalil Herbert a must pick up. Would have to drop Gallup or Renfro. Yep, I think that's fine. Yep, just too much value, like in the handcuff situation. And then even if Monty is fine to play, like I think we're going to start to see a little bit more of Herbert as well. Man, Renfro has just been disappointing this season. Just has been disappointing. So I pick up Zach Wilson, currently running Carr. Don't plan to change, just need a backup. If you really want a backup, Zach Wilson's fine. But like after Carr's bye week, I think if Carr's your starting quarterback, you just roll with Carr. Chase Edmonds a drop or hold. There's a lot of inconsistency there. So if you think you can get a better player, yeah, you can replace him. But if you don't really see better value, probably just hold him in case we see a consistent pattern emerge. I have Kittle, so he'll play, but dropping Kmet for an Njoku claim, anything is an upgrade from him. That's true. If you own Cole Kmet, you can drop him. That I agree with. Burks or Romeo rest of the season, I'd probably go Romeo because Aaron Rodgers is quarterback. And like Burks could become the wide receiver one, don't get me wrong, but Romeo is starting to heat up definitely in that competition, right? Like Woods is in front of Burks. Burks probably brings more upside than Woods, and then Lazard is playing just fine, but Romeo's starting to heat up, man. I go Romeo. Even though Conklin has been consistent, should I still start him with Zach Wilson? It's worth thinking about, but we just don't know what it's going to look like with Wilson at quarterback, so it's just tough to say, man. It's hard to answer. Would you rather have Pickens or Claypool? I already have Johnson. Also, do you think Dobbins is going to be okay? I'd probably rather have Pickens. Like, if you already have Johnson, I probably don't want Claypool or Pickens on my team. But at least Pickens brings, Claypool brings more boomer bust potential. Pickens at least brings some upside on the season. You know, I'd probably rather have Pickens. I think Dobbins is going to be okay. He'll be fine. But the ceiling's capped, man. There's a couple issues. Like I told you guys, don't start him in week 3. He's going to be worked back in. But the bigger issue is the Ravens are not a run-first team anymore. They are slinging that thing around with Lamar Jackson at QB. And if they are running, it's Lamar Jackson running. I mean, he has over 220 rushing yards in the last 2 weeks alone after just 17 in week 1. So, Dobbins will be fine, but his ceiling's capped by Lamar Jackson and by a committee overall. Yeah, Justice Hill hasn't done much on the year. Mike Davis hasn't done much on the year. Kenyon Drake hasn't done much on the year. Gus Edwards could still come back, but the Ravens are just throwing the football right now, man. Duvernay and Bateman and Andrews are balling with Lamar, so Dobbins will be okay, but he's gonna be a little bit inconsistent. He's got to score. Like that's the issue with the Ravens backfield. Like if these guys don't find the red zone, they just don't put up crazy productive days. Got offered Adams and Javonte for CD and Henry. What do we think? I would rather have the CD and Henry side because I'd rather have Henry than Javonte. Adams I'd probably like more than CD, but CD is still performing like pretty well. I mean, he's not playing bad whatsoever. Wide receiver 23, 22 points last week, 15.1 in week 2. Could have had more points in week 3 if he didn't drop that one pass, but he gets Washington and the Rams. 2 really good matchups. Rams are not playing well against receivers. Gets Philly in week 6, which is stout. And he gets Detroit and Chicago in a bye week. Green Bay, man, he gets Jair. It's a tough matchup. He gets Minnesota, the Giants, Indy, Houston, Jacksonville before seeing Philadelphia, and then Tennessee. So, like, for CeeDee Lamb's upcoming matchups, like, I don't like Philly in week 16. I don't love Green Bay in week 10. I don't like Philly in week 6. But truthfully, outside of that, I really like his schedule for the whole year. So, and Adams is just like that offense is like a big question mark. So, I would probably hold the CD and Henry side. DJ Moore or Ayuk rest of season, guys, I'd probably take Ayuk here. I was not a big fan. I tried to tell you guys, like, there's a point where I would still draft DJ Moore, don't get me wrong, but, like, with Baker at quarterback, like, we saw DJ Moore shoot up, like, a round and a half to 2 rounds in fantasy drafts, and I just was like, the upgrade at quarterback is not that significant, and it's been really frustrating because DJ Moore is a fantasy piece that you spend high draft capital on, and it's not about me being right or wrong in the offseason. It's just like, I know it hurts. Like, you spend pretty high capital on DJ Moore, and do I think you should drop him? No. But can you start benching him for players like Ayuk? Yes. And Ayuk gets the Rams defense, who are like last in the league almost against opposing receivers. They were 31st going into last week's matchup, and they gave up a lot of yards to Hollywood Brown and Greg and D. So I'd probably start Ayuk this season, or this week, excuse me. And on the season, I don't like DJ Moore very much. I don't like the Panthers' offense outside of CMC very much right now. Kicker question: Greg Joseph or Hopkins rest of season? Guys, if you ever have kicker-specific questions, I'm happy to answer them, first of all. But Steven does do a weekly must-start at the position. He loves to answer your guys' kickers' questions. Our video for the week got delayed. It's usually out Tuesday nights, but it was delayed this week. But it'll be out tomorrow at some point. So just throwing it out there. But Greg Joseph has been a little bit disappointing the last 2 weeks. Only combined for 3 points in the last 2 weeks after 13 points in week 1. Probably has more to do with the Vikings' offense overall as of late. Hopkins, on the other hand, is like been kind of lackluster. 6, 6, and 4 respectively. He gets Houston. I do like Greg Joseph this week. I'd probably go Hopkins by a hair because I like the offense more. Probably go Hopkins by a hair. Elver traded Kittle for Javonte and Knox. Should I hold or drop Knox for Njoku or Conklin? I would hold Knox. I would hold on to Knox, yeah. Might not bring in the best ceiling, but I think he's a little bit more consistent. Number 1 waiver, drop Kenneth Walker for Jamal Williams. Was that the choice over Madison? Yes, yeah. Especially if you need to win right now. Like, Williams is going to start. Madison, it looks like Cook's probably going to start Sunday. So, yeah, I think it's the right choice. What round do you think Amon-Ra will go if he keeps the pace? If he keeps the pace, he's going to finish as a top 3 fantasy receiver on the season. He's probably not going to keep the pace, at least for the next couple weeks. Like, he might He might miss a week or two. But let's say he still comes back to the pace he's been on. He's going to finish as a top 5 fantasy receiver. So he'll probably go in the first round, towards the end of the first round, yeah. I want to trade Ramondre for ETN, non-PPR total yards, but bonus points for distance and individual SPT points for touchdowns plus distance. That's tough. Both these running backs are kind of capped. Harris was banged up in week 3, so we saw more of Ramondre. This is tough. I don't see a crazy good outlook for either of these running backs. I don't like the Patriots offense very much right now. Mac Jones is banged up. I like the Jags offense more, so I think ETN's fine. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Rookie of the year, tough to say. It is interesting, right? Because we don't really have a quarterback who's going to emerge in time to win Rookie of the Year. So Breece Hall can still make it. Damian Pierce can still make it, but usually you don't see it go to a running back. So when we look at receivers, like Drake London's been balling. I'd probably give my vote to Drake London at the moment. I do like Olave quite a bit. Garrett Wilson's been playing very well. Jon Dawson was on a good pace. And the Doobie could come into play as well. So I would say at the moment it's probably Drake London. If we're just talking about offense, right? Is everyone thinking Gallup will bust? I don't think so necessarily. I think most people are fans of Gallup. I think he's in a good enough position. Yeah. Noah Brown's been playing well, and Schultz is going to be there, healthy again. So, but I think Gallup will be fine. He's injury prone. Would you rather pick up Zay Jones or McKenzie? I'd probably go McKenzie by a hair. I like both. Probably go McKenzie. Just because I like the Bills' offense more. Curtis for Ertz, or should I be patient with Schultz? I would hold. I would hold. Yeah. Yeah, I would hold. What the fuck is this? Okay. Yeah, I would hold for now. Alright, let's see. Should I try to trade Jonathan Taylor for Barkley and A.J. Brown? I think that's a good trade. I mean, listen, I'm not out on JT on the season. Don't get me wrong. But I would probably go with Barkley and A.J. Brown. If you need the depth, yeah. Yeah. Drop one Williams. So Darrell Williams, Mooney, Nico Collins. Gosh. I mean, you can drop any of these players. Maybe hold. Like, it just kind of depends. If you need more help at receiver, hold Mooney and Collins. If you feel like you need a handcuff at running back, keep Williams. But you can drop any of these players. They're all droppable for sure. They're all bench players at the end of the day, right? I worded that wrong. I have Kenneth and Madison. I wanted to drop one for Jamal. Okay, I would drop Kenneth Walker. Yeah, the Seahawks are the least attractive team here. I would drop Kenneth Walker. I would hold Madison. He's too valuable as a handcuff. I would definitely drop Kenneth Walker for Jamal. Pray, what's up, bro? Yeah, I don't know what that was, guys. It happens. What are you going to do? It's part of streaming. That stuff happens. So, I've seen worse things in chats pop up. And we've actually had worse things pop up in the chat before. So, you just kind of, you move along, right? It is what it is. So, yeah, here we are. Finally caught up with the chat. J-Dubs, what's up, bro? How are you doing, man? Good to have you here. What's up? What's up? Appreciate you guys being here. We're probably going to start winding things down. We're just under 2 hours, so probably going to start winding things down. All right, man. Appreciate you guys being here tonight with a great round of fantasy Q&A. I mean, it always feels like 10 minutes. It just flies by. But once we start to hit that 2 hour mark, I start to kind of wind things down. I mean, Other than Sunday morning and Saturday nights, we usually go a little bit later. But for the regular Q&As, usually 2 hours is where we go. So Steven and I will both be on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys come out. Always a good time when we've got Steven in the building as well. And then Thursday night, we'll stream 7 to 8 p.m. before Thursday night kickoff. So still have plenty of fantasy Q&A. Friday night, we'll do a little bit of underdog action with some fantasy Q&A. Saturday, we'll do our normal late night Saturday stream. Sunday, we'll stream before kickoff, probably around 11 a.m. And yeah, so we've got a good week. We've got starts and sits for receivers and running backs out. We've got must-start defenses out. We've got a delay on the must-start kicker video, but that should be out at some point tomorrow. And then we'll move into starts and sits at quarterbacks and tight ends for the remainder of the week. And then we'll have our live stream. So we got plenty of content coming your guys' way. Make sure to check out the videos when you guys have the time. And yeah, just appreciate you guys being here tonight, man. Another great round of fantasy Q&A. First time viewer, I up with you in the stream. Hey, I appreciate that, man. Very, very kind of you. Welcome to the Catch fam, man. We loved having you tonight. And we look forward to having you in the future, man. Pray, always good to have you in the house, man. Jeez Louise, have a great night. All right, looks like a good point to end the stream. Like I said, just under 2 hours, so we're pretty much on the dot. And it looks like the chat's dying out. So, guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to join our Discord. That way you guys have 24/7 access to the community. Anytime you guys have fantasy questions, you guys can throw them out on there. We have plenty of members of the community, always active in our fantasy chat on there. So make sure you guys join that if you guys have things you want to ask when we're not streaming. And of course, you guys can always drop questions in the comment section as well. Other than that, check out all the links down below. Instagram, I'm not very active on Twitter whatsoever. I just, for whatever reason, it's just not really my vibe. But we do have a Twitter you can follow as well. Instagram and Discord are definitely the two best places to reach me outside of the streams and the comment section. So if you're new to the channel, those are the places to check out. All right, Ash, have a great night. I bet you money Steven will be wearing that scarf on his head as a headband. You know, he's rocking it. He's doing his thing. Yeah. Shout out to Steven. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be on tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time with Steven. And Thursday night with Steven as well at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you guys keep an eye out for any uploads and check out our must-starts, running backs, receivers, and defenses for the week so far. Great stream tonight, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Had a blast with you guys. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Like I said, hit me up on Discord or Instagram if you guys need anything in the meantime. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Thank you to all the new subscribers. And thank you guys so much for the fantasy questions. It really does mean a lot to me. So hit the like button on the way out. Hit that subscribe button if you're new. Check out all the links down below. That'll wrap it up for Tuesday night. And tomorrow we'll hop into some more fantasy Q&A. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch. And peace.